our goal for this project was to see if the authorship of a quote could change somebody's perception of that quote based on their predetermined ideologies.
And what we were trying to do is call attention to how people's previous opinions about authors and texts will influence their opinions of meanings, like how what they think about the author of a quote will affect what they think that quote means.
We went to Royal Oak and gave people a series of quotes to get their opinions on them, and basically we mixed up the authors to see if that would change their perception of it. So for example, we would give someone a quote from the Declaration of Independence, but say that it was from the Communist Manifesto, and see if that would change their opinion. And we would give people a different series of quotes each time to see what kind of responses that we would get.
Godspeed.
One eternity later.
So George Washington once said private property should be abolished. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I like my own things, so in what sense? It depends.
What if I told you that Karl Marx actually said that?
Then I would say, I still feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's an old thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we were just trying to see if the authorship of the quote would change your opinion on it. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So, what are your general thoughts about Karl Marx? Karl Marx, he wrote the Communist Manifesto. I don't know who that is.
So we're going way back. As far as what?
I guess just general thoughts that spring to mind.
Fundamentals our nation was built upon.
Cool.
That works.
This is a quote that says, it has converted the poet, the man of science, into its paid wage laborers. What do you think about that?
I don't even know what that means.
I just want to know what you think about it, if that's okay. That's really it.
Sure.
So, Karl Marx once said private property should be abolished. What do you think about that?
I would agree with most of what Karl Marx would say about, and Friedrich Engels for that matter, probably had a more well-developed idea about private property in the state. And yeah, they're definitely political ideas that I entertain, but not political in practice.
We did.
Okay, so George Washington once said private property should be abolished. What do you think about that?
I honestly don't know. Sorry.
No, it's okay. What if I told you Karl Marx actually said that?
I actually believe it.
Really?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So do you want to maybe say why?
It's just because like some weird people say some of the weirdest things. So that's why.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much.
From the Declaration of Independence that says the working men have no country. What are your general thoughts about that?
It's wrong. This is wrong.
In what ways?
Well, actually, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, only landowners were considered citizens. So they're the only ones who could vote. If you were just a working stiff and you didn't own any land, then you couldn't vote. So I think that's what.
Yeah, that quote was actually from the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, you're pulling one of these. Okay. I've seen these before.
Yeah, sorry. So what's your response to it being from that source?
Vive le Revolution. I was a communist when I was young.
Okay, so this quote is by George Washington, and it says, "Revolutions are the locomotives of history." So, how do you feel about that?
Sounds good to me.
It's the other quote about every few years there has to be a revolution. Yeah, no,
What if I told you that quote is actually from the Communist Manifesto?
you can. Everything's always open to interpretation. So I mean, you can interpret one thing. So I'm not surprised. Yeah. everything is always interpreted differently.
I agree. You can spin anything for any culture, any society. Make something good bad, make something bad good.
If you just put like a name to it, like the Declaration of Independence, most people will believe it because they don't know what they're really talking about.
And a lot of people don't know about that stuff. Like in school, we don't really learn about that.
So do you think the title or the authorship of each quote had any influence to your response?
Yeah, because usually when you think of the Declaration of Independence, you think about like the country and being, everyone has their own little like, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
You think more of your own country like it's right, and then you think more of communist, that sounds negative, like a negative connotation.
So, looking back at how the interviews went, we thought that most people would probably have a negative reaction to quotes that were by Karl Marx, and we thought they would have a more favorable reaction if a quote was by George Washington or from the Declaration of Independence. And for the most part, people did respond in the way we expected. Upon hearing that a quote was actually by Karl Marx, most people would alter their responses to accommodate for possible negative associations with the quote, and a lot of people would say things that would make their previous response more open-ended. They would say things like, oh, you know, it's always open to interpretation.
So most of the responses to quotes by George Washington were much simpler than the quotes that these people were given by Karl Marx. For example, when we told somebody it was a quote by George Washington, whether it really was or really wasn't, the response was usually like, oh, I don't know, or I agree, I disagree, just something very simple. And when it was Karl Marx, it was more like complicated, or when we told them it was actually Karl Marx, in the end, responses were more like stuttery. People didn't really know what to say, what to think. And we said this shows that people have been taught to accept just American ideas and American ideologies and not to question them. But when it comes to something like Karl Marx and communism, that's something that's so big and controversial and radical that it's almost unacceptable when people don't know what to say when they've been duped in this sort of sense.
So while a lot of the responses that we got were what we were kind of expecting, there were some responses that people's opinions didn't really change. Yet some people did say that the authorship plays a role in what they think. Ultimately, we think that authorship influences people's opinions a lot, but it can range from person to person and from situation to situation.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me and ease my mind, imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.